and welcome to Best Laid Plans. This is your host, Sarah Hart-Unger, and this is the podcast where we talk all things planning and planning adjacent. If my voice sounds a little bit different than usual today, that is because I am recording this from another country. I am actually in Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm on a girls' trip right now with two friends that I will tell you a little bit more about later in this episode. And I decided not to bring my microphone on the trip, even though I knew I might want to record an episode. So you have me on my laptop. I don't think there's too much background noise, so hopefully the sound will not be too bad. But if it doesn't sound quite as crisp as my audio usually does, that is the reason, because I'm doing something really fun. So I hope that trade-off is worth it, and I hope the sound isn't too distracting. So why am I on this awesome trip? Well, this is kind of part of the topic here, because we are going to talk about 5 reflective practices to think about as you are starting to maybe get in the mood to plan your 2026. And I absolutely don't think anyone should really be in the place where they're doing hardcore planning of next year when we still have 2.5 months to enjoy in 2025. So in no way am I recommending that you bypass that fun or that you even really start crafting concrete lists and things about what you want to do next year, unless your cadence is different and you like to plan in November or something else. However, sometimes there is some pre-planning or just dreaming, if you will, that can fit into our everyday lives that will just still be useful as we think about the broader picture of what we want for ourselves, what we want our lives to look like. And I definitely do think that as we head into reflection season, which is officially, in my opinion, November 1st, this is a really interesting time to start thinking about some of these practices. And mentioning that I'm on this trip right now, I do feel like I wouldn't be on this trip without some of those practices myself in thinking about what I had wanted out of 2025 and what was important to me. We actually ended up planning this trip in January. There's a text chain on WhatsApp where myself, my friend Kay, who blogs at Grateful Kay, and my friend Elizabeth, who is also a blogger at Optimistic Musings. Anyway, the 3 of us were like, you know what? It would be really, really fun to actually spend some time together next year. And I knew that I wanted to see some fall leaves. So with those 2 things in mind, and with the January planning energy extremely strong, I think it is not a coincidence that we booked and planned this trip in January for October. The trip started to take shape. And honestly, once Kay and I and Elizabeth decided on a date, we went ahead and booked a hotel. And then that was like, okay, this is happening. We have a named text thread. We have a hotel. We have a day. That's really all we know. And this super fun part of the year that I looked forward to for months, honestly, began to take shape. But even before that, it was like, me thinking about what I wanted out of the year, what is important to me, what are my values, friendship, being outdoors, doing fun things, not letting too many months pass by without something very exciting. And that's how this trip came to fruition. Obviously, there's lots of other fun things in my life. I love family trips as well. I love regular weekends at home with family. So this is not to say that, oh my gosh, my only bright spot in the year was a girls' trip, but this has been really, really fun. And yeah, I think was born out of some of these reflective practices. So I feel inspired, and I feel that it's good timing to talk about this today. So I came and kind of brainstormed and thought about some of the reflective practices that I do and the ones that I wish I did more of. And I came up with 5, which we will talk through in this episode. So if you're listening to this, and if you tend to be someone who goes to plan your year and then you just have a blank page and you feel intimidated by it, or you don't know how to start, these are some ideas to maybe help get your mind flowing and to help get you unstuck. And you have plenty of time to try them before the new year planning starts in earnest. So I hope the timing of this episode works well. All right, the first thing, and something that I really enjoy doing, is to read something inspiring. And I think this is where the lowest bar is, right? Like, we're not asking you to create. You don't have to dream. You don't have to write. It's just like, let someone else's dreams come to you, and maybe that will have your mind thinking about how that might apply to you. I know that happens to me all the time, whether I sought out to do that or not. So for me, this is 2 classes of books that help with this. One of them is memoir, because I do feel like reading somebody else's discovery journey can often awaken our own discoveries. Like, oh, maybe I want that, or, oh, I definitely don't want that. Right now, I'm reading Awake by Jen Hatmaker. It's a very hot memoir, and we actually interviewed Jen on Best of Both Worlds. I'll see if I can link to that episode. But it's super interesting. I mean, do I want what happened to her in the book that she writes about to happen to me? Absolutely not. But still, following her journey and how she built her life back from a devastating event has been just really inspiring. So a memoir like that could be great. Old memoirs that I can remember kind of having that effect, or even like that Cheryl Strayed memoir about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, or Gretchen Rubin's Happiness Project, which really was, I mean, I know she's known for her personal development, but her first two books, Happiness Project and Happier at Home, were very much memoir style and really inspiring. In fact, I don't know what anniversary of those books there are, but I think it'd be really fun to revisit them. Maybe next year I'll do that. And then the other class of books is just like a straight up planning or logistics book. Yes, I have written one that's coming out in December. You can pre-order that if you have not already. It's available on all the platforms. I'm sorry, I just had to get that in there. But I've also enjoyed many other people's books like this. Laura Vanderkam, of course, I love Off the Clock, 168 Hours. So many of her works. I love books that remind you of your mortality because they help you kind of zero in on like, okay, I have a limited time that I can do the things I want to do. My two favorites are Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks and Jody Wellman's You Only Die Once. And then there's some books where they're just about planning. I mean, getting things done. Actually, he had a sequel, and I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head, but his sequel had to do with long-term planning and visioning. And it was not a hit as much as Getting Things Done, but it was interesting. And then Michael Hyatt wrote a book maybe a decade back or more called Living Forward that I really liked, that talks about ways to do longer term planning and visioning. Actually, it's Michael Hyatt and Daniel Harkavy with that book. I also will say the light version of this would be listening to podcasts where other people talk about their goals list or how they're building their lives. And we're not really in that season yet where you're going to get current ones, but archives are out there. You can always listen to other people's goals lists or reflections on prior years, and that might be inspiring to you. All right. The second one of these practices, after reading something inspiring or listening to something inspiring, would be to create a 100 dreams list. And Laura is definitely to credit for where I learned about this practice, Laura Vanderkam, although she learned it from a career coach named Caroline Zeniza Levine. And she has been creating these lists and talking about these lists for more than a decade now. I found a list on her website from 2015. And the 100 Dreams list is like a bucket list, but it's so long. Like the whole point is that it's 100, and most people are not going to get to 100 when they are going to create a bucket list. They might put 20 things. And going beyond 20 really makes you think about little things. It helps your mind to wander further than it otherwise might, creating a traditional list like this. And I honestly don't think I've ever gotten to 100 when I've gone to create my 100 dreams list, but I've written several versions of my 100 dreams list. And then I found that some of these things have actually come true. Maybe not just because they're on the 100 dreams list, but it really is a wonderful vehicle for helping you identify, what do I want? Like if I just had a blank slate and I'm thinking about the rest of my life, what are all of the things that come to mind that I could possibly do and dream about? And so this exercise is fantastic. You should make a list if you haven't already. You should remake a list. You should go back to your list. Or, what would be fun is like you do one every 5 years, and maybe you make that second list without even looking back at your first list. I don't know. There's so many variations on how you could make the most of this practice. But even as I'm recording this, I'm like, I think I'm about to get on a plane flight. Now would be a really fun time to revisit my list and perhaps start a new one. So 100 Dreams list, I highly recommend. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to get to 3 more ideas, reflective practices to help you start to think about planning for next year.
Today's episode is brought to you with support from Green Chef. I love fall energy, like the fresh start of back to school, plus all of that delicious fall food. Warm, homey flavors just make everything feel comforting, plus with the new seasonal energy, it's the perfect time to reset and bring healthy habits back into focus. Green Chef can help you do just that, even if your season is packed with school festivities and events. Green Chef's meals are made up of real, clean ingredients, and they help you build lasting healthy habits without the hassle. With 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options, Green Chef makes it easy to find meals that fit your lifestyle. Pick from Mediterranean, gluten-free, plant-based, and protein-heavy. There's even a gut and brain health option and calorie-smart choices too. They really are family-friendly, and my kids are always so excited for our Green Chef dinners. Make this fall your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50bestlaid and use code 50bestlaid to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50bestlaid, as in 50bestlaid, at greenchef.com/50bestlaid. Today's episode comes to you with support from iXL. The autumn season is in full swing, and iXL helps keep your homeschool lessons or school enrichment structured and steady, whether you're following a set curriculum or creating your own. I personally love the simplicity that iXL offers. I don't have to dig through endless resources. iXL is organized by grade and topic, so I can jump right into what each child needs. My kids have been using iXL for years, and I really trust it to help solidify concepts and meet them where they are. Just like each leaf changes at its own pace, each child learns differently. iXL adapts so kids can move ahead when they're ready or revisit the topic until it truly clicks. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get iXL now. And Best Laid Plans listeners can get an exclusive 20% off iXL membership when they sign up today at ixl.com/plans. Visit ixl.com/plans to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. That's why you should say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 per month. Mint Mobile's plans start at $15 per month, and there are no unexpected overages or hidden fees. All Mint Mobile plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/BLP. That's mintmobile.com/BLP. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, I am back. The third thing on my list is something that I do a lot of in terms of leading when I am leading my planning sessions. Anyone who has ever attended a Best Laid Plans Live or a Best Laid Plans at Home has been treated to me leading them through these visioning exercises. And I know there are people in the room that are super excited when I say the word visioning. And there are people in the room that are just like, I want to get my calendar out and plan. And why are you making me be all fuzzy and dreamy about this? But then I feel like most people do it in their own way and enjoy it, whether they came from it from the, yay, I'm excited to do this angle, or the, okay, fine, I will get out my colored pens. But the exercises that I start both of these programs with are, I have you think about a year in the future. Sometimes it's 10 years, sometimes it's 5 years. I like to get a specific year. So if I'm running Best Laid Plans Live for 2026, I have people think about 2035, which is 10 years from when we're having that session, or maybe 2030. And I have them picture, like, if I'm zooming you up ahead, I want you to picture your life, but also like the best version of what you'd like that life to be. And I want you to write out the details and think about it. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you come up with very specific images in certain areas of life and then very, very vague images in other areas of life. And the point is not, I am not, oh my gosh, I don't think I ever even heard of manifesting when I thought about these exercises. So that is not the point, to think that like magically something will happen to lead you towards this vision, but it just gets you thinking, if I want to picture my kids gathering in a cabin in Montana in 10 years, like logistically and really, what would have to happen in order for that to be true? And is there anything that would need to happen in the next year that I can think about? So I'm much more practical when it comes to these exercises, but I still think they are incredibly valuable. So you can do the long-term version of these visioning exercises, and you can also do it 1 year out. So you can think of, okay, 1 year from now, maybe I am on a friend's retreat in October next fall, or I bring my husband up here because he is like, he sees the pictures I'm sending from Nova Scotia and is like, okay, I'm coming next year. So, maybe we'll be in this hotel room a year from now. And I'd like to think, well, what went well? What were the highlights if I'm pretending that it's a year from now? Looking back, what was so amazing about last year? Because that can get you primed to think about like what you really do want to include and what feels the most important. And again, this is not to say that you failed if your year doesn't end up looking like that. Listen, my vision when I sat there in Best Laid Plans Live last year was like, oh, I'm making my arrangements for the Boston Marathon to run in the spring of 26. And then look what happened. So this is not to say it makes all of your dreams come true, but it can help you provide just almost like a roadmap to like what you would like to get to if you could. All right. Number 4 is going to be super simple, but also maybe kind of permission for some of you. And that is to start a new notebook to brainstorm. And it doesn't even have to be a new notebook. I know many of us have multiple notebooks or places to write lying around, or maybe we like a digital platform, but I really do love this on paper. But give yourself permission that, if you have all these blank notebooks lying around, make one of them a dreams and fun thinking and fun lists journal. I don't have one right now, but I have done this a lot in the future, kind of like ebbs and flows depending on what's going on in my life. And I had one specific one. It was actually a Nuna notebook, Nuuna. They're beautiful. They're like made in Germany and they have really cool covers and they're dot grid. So they're totally open-ended. And when my kids were toddlers, I had a Nuna notebook where, I don't know, when I was stressed out, I would just make a spread about like what's working now and what I want to change, or travel dreams of the future, or what I love about my career and what I don't. And I would try to make these kind of artistic. I'd use colored pens. I'd make different shaped layouts. And it was just like a free-form place for me to dream about what I wanted or what was working. And it was just really, really fun and really reflective. And I think also just because it was physical and I was using pens and trying to make it neat, there was just like a relaxed, calming aspect to this practice that I actually miss because I don't have a notebook like this right now. But this would be a really fun thing if you're finding yourself lost to just create a very low pressure notebook to go ahead and dream in. And again, you can put anything. You can put tiny little things like, I don't know, albums I want to listen to on repeat this holiday season. It could be anything. So give your permission right now to start a notebook for no real purpose other than to dream and brainstorm and make lists that you may or may not refer back to, but that the practice of making them feels valuable and helps get you thinking about what you want in life. All right. And if you need a recommendation for a notebook, feel free to email me. Like, I want a large or leather cover or tiny or smooth paper. And I probably would have ideas of a notebook that might fit those descriptions. I actually currently, one of my favorite brands of notebook is actually the good old Moleskine, but they actually have a lot of like special edition covers that they make that are gorgeous. They're like pieces of art. So I've bought multiple volumes in the Cherry Blossom series, and I think they make beautiful brainstorming journals. And in fact, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, that's probably going to be my next dreams notebook. So we'll see. All right. And the 5th thing, which is very much inspired by this trip. Are we on 5? I actually think I have 6. Okay, we get a bonus thing. We had read something, we have 100 dreams, we have our 10-year or 1-year visioning, we have a notebook, and then we have deep talk with a partner or friend. And this was very much inspired by conversations I had on this girls' trip. We have done something called 36 Questions, which looks like it came from a New York Times article, but now has a website of its own. And it's actually 36 questions to fall in love. Am I trying to fall in love with my 2 friends here? I mean, not that kind of love, but this is a set of very deep questions that just helps you get at the root of like how your childhood shaped your values and what are the things that are most important to you in your life right now. And you could do this exercise with a partner that you are already in love with or trying to fall in love with. You could do it with friends, but having this kind of deep talk really does help you zero in on what's important in your life right now. And by extension, is really helping you think about what you want your future to look like. And there are a few future-focused questions as well. Now, if your partner is like, I am not doing a structured list of questions, you could still look at this list of questions and then bring up variations of them when you are together. I think road trips are so amazing for having deep talk with a partner. The kids are like asleep and then you're in the car or they're on iPads. Like, let's be real, sometimes that's what's happening. And then my husband and I can be in the front thinking like, hey, like, what will our life be like once the kids graduate from college? Like, what do you want to do? What do you think? How long do you think you'll want to work? Like, what do you think we'll do for vacations? When will we see the kids? How will we see our grandkids that don't exist yet? Like all that kind of deep theoretical, but fun talk can happen with a partner or friend in a safe setting. And this kind of discussion definitely will get you primed in thinking about what you want out of life and long term. Highly recommend you kind of setting up that situation because it doesn't always happen in our regular lives. when you are hustling and bustling from soccer practice to, helping with the school project or whatever, there's not space to do this. But if you create it, you can have wonderful things happen in that space. And finally, I've got a bonus one because this was going to be five things, but I wrote 6 things. And that's that sometimes you need to clean up. I do feel like when you're bogged down by nagging tasks, your inbox is overflowing, you don't know what's coming at you, sometimes that can serve as a block. And there's probably ways to get around that block. In fact, I will say doing a getaway, you feel like you're away from those things and you can maybe think clearly, even if you have stuff that you know back home is lingering. But I also think there can be something to be said for, like maybe October and November, I clear the decks so that December is like, I have like a clear mind. I know what's on my plate and I can think better about what I want for the future. I also think this cleanup can take physical forms. If you have a filing cabinet that's overflowing, if you have a desk that has a bunch of papers in it, or my favorite, clearing out Apple Notes on a plane flight so that I can which notes do I still need? What do I not need? It forces me to look at my fun lists and year lists that I have stored there. But doing some kind of physical or digital cleanup can really, really help unblock you sometimes if that is kind of what's stopping you. So to summarize, we have talked about 6 reflective practices that might get you going if you're having trouble thinking about what you want in the long term. And again, this isn't getting ready to plan in earnest yet, but maybe just developing some ideas and some brainstorming. The first one is to read something inspiring. The second one is to do visioning exercises, whether they are 10 years out or 1 year out. The third one is the 100 dreams list. The fourth one is to allow yourself to start a new notebook just to play and brainstorm. The fifth one is deep talk with a partner or friends. And then the sixth one is to clean up. So I hope this episode has given you some really, really fun ideas as we do approach reflection season. My one business keeping note is that the courses for 2026, so let's say you're like, I want to do this visioning exercise, but there's no way I'm doing it myself. I need to be led through it. It needs to be on my calendar. I want to sit there while you're leading me through this exercise and many more to plan my 2026. That is what Best Laid Plans at Home is for planning 2026. And that's available to sign up on my courses page. And planning by season, it may be closed, honestly, by the time this comes out. Again, I always record a week ahead and we're 90% full right now. So if there are 1 or 2 slots left, I would go ahead and jump into that now rather than waiting, because I always get emails where people are like, oh, it's closed. And part of me is like, I want to add as many people as possible. But that course in particular, there is some back and forth and we have these discussions. And if it feels more like a presentation and it's a really large group, I think it would lose some of its essence. So I do have to limit that one in particular. So that information is on the courses page at theshoebox.com/courses. And yeah, hopefully there's still space if that's something you're interested in. I think there should still be a good amount of space in Best Laid Plans at Home since that is a larger group and I do basically 3 performances, but I'd love to see you in that one as well. If you have questions about those, feel free to email me and you can go ahead and start sending me questions for November as I'm starting to collect for the Q&A for that. So thank you so much for listening. Bear with the audio maybe not being quite as crisp as usual, but it was still a really fun episode to record. I feel inspired in this beautiful setting, having spent time with friends, and I'll be back in your feed next Monday with more planning fun. Have a beautiful, wonderful week.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.